Hello and welcome to another episode of Frustrated Alicia, aka Monas. All right, so those of you who don't know me, I'm Alicia. This is Alicia at, you know, unapologetically you. Which basically it's I feel that name covers a lot of things. Um, and I know I use the word, I apologize if anybody's offended. That's not my intentions, because yeah, it's true, but that don't mean I'm apologizing for being me. So anyways, in saying that, I've been watching something today. I took my evening, late in the day actually, nap. I'm just only been up for a couple hours now, I think, and so I'll probably be up late because I did take a late in the day nap. I just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, was just exhausted and had to lay down. I think it's just, I got so much on my mind lately. Yes, I have become a stronger person through everything I've been through. People underestimate me and do not give me enough credit all the time. They have my entire life, and I don't care who they are or what they say. It's true. I am tired of not being heard. I am just as important as everybody else. And what I have to say is just as important as everybody else, okay? I've always been one to be taking care of everybody else, helping other people, always sweeping things under the rug, making excuses for those that I care about and love, whether it be family, friends, whatever, through my entire life, including my own father, who, God rest his soul, now has passed away back in 2018 of August. So it's getting close to the another anniversary of the day he died. It was 2018, August 8th, when my father passed away at 70. He did have heart issues. Yes, he did not eat right. He was big on fried foods, which a lot of his generation was. He deep fried everything, including corn on the cob. Um, but no, he just didn't take care of himself, and he had heart issues in his 40s. He had a double bypass heart surgery because the valves in his heart were not pumping the blood properly. So they had to do a double bypass heart surgery in his 40s to replace the valves. Um, he was on blood pressure medication for years, and heart medications, just like his mom and dad, my grandparents, same thing. They had bad hearts. Um, Cancer, killed a lot of my family members on his side as well as my mom's. Um, my Aunt Esther was one of my dad's older sisters. She passed away at a young age. She was in her 50s, I believe, I think. I'm guessing because I was only 13 or 14. I was a preteen, basically. I was young when she passed away. Um, but he really didn't take care of himself. And then when he was just before he turned 70, I remember he had to go in and have a defibrillator put in his for his heart, because his heart was so bad and he still wasn't eating right and taking care of him. He'd gone to a heart doctor for years, the same one that did his surgery. He still checked in with for years. um, but he never showed it either. He hid a lot of his health problems. He was tough in that way, I guess, but in other ways he was not a good father. But when he turned 70, after the heart defibrillator was put in, And his mom, my grandmother, she had had a pacemaker back in her day put in for heart issues. But the defibrillator did not work. He got up, I guess. His girlfriend said he had gotten up to go to the bathroom in the night, and walking to the bathroom, he seemed fine like he always does. And I guess just flat on his face and was gone. His heart just stopped out of nowhere, just getting up to walk to the bathroom, showed no signs of anything wrong ever. And it just stopped. And he just fell. Like she said, it was like a statue, just fell, and he was just gone. The defibrillator did not work. It's supposed to start the heart back up, supposed to send like electricals to the heart to jumpstart your heart, start you back up. But his did not work. He hadn't had it very long before put in before he turned 70. And when he turned 70, all of a sudden this happens. I know it's weird, it's odd. I remember the sheriff calling me to let me know that my father had passed away, and because I was the oldest and he had instructions that I was to be the one trusted with everything, because I really was his only daughter. I guess that he really felt that trust could do the right things for his burial, and what he wanted and his things. It was hard because I've never been put in that position. I've never lost a parent. I've lost grandparents, and I've lost friends and aunts and cousins, but I never lost a parent. And I got to say it really took a toll on me. It hit me hard, and I still have a hard time with it. And I get extra sensitive the closer it gets to the anniversary every year of when he passed away. And I still, to this day, will never forget the exact year, day, and month of his passing, which is coming up this August 8th. Another year. And Father's Day is coming up, and that's another hard one for me. And I got a lump in my throat, and I'm trying to hold back the tears and emotions right now. And nobody seems to understand that I can't just talk to people about things. Nobody ever really wants to listen. And I don't care what they say, their actions and facial expressions that they can't see when I'm talking to them, that I'm looking at, I do see. And it's not in my head. My eyes, I can see you. The rolling of the eyes, the sigh, it just gives you away. Actions do speak louder than words, and I will continue to say that for the rest of my life because it's true. And my birthday is coming up in October, and that's always been a tough one for me since I turned 30, because I did not want to turn 30. I did not want to leave my 20s. I wanted to remain in that era. But unfortunately, that's not realistic. And, I never thought I'd live to see 30, honestly, because of the things I went through, And even though my dad wasn't the greatest dad in the world, stop it, don't cry. He made some horrible choices, and he did some horrible things to his kids and other people. He hurt. And he never took accountability for nothing he did. And that's why I never let things go when I find out somebody has lied or done something to me. Until you I don't care if it's been years, take accountability, because I will never ever let it go until you do, and you sincerely deep down mean it and consistently be that way. And anyways, Mom would tell me stories that when I was very young, and even before I was born, my grandfather, my father's father, did not want my mom to marry my dad. He straight up told my mom do not marry my son. But he would never tell her why. It wasn't because he didn't like my mom, but then she got pregnant with me, her first child with my father, that everybody knew of. Nobody knew that he had had a secret daughter from a secret first marriage, um, until I was 13. And she'd come knocking on the door, surprising everybody. Nobody had a clue till then. He hid it well all them years. But anyway, when she got pregnant with me, my grandfather, my dad's dad, he told her, I will never speak to you again. And he did not. He stopped talking to my mother completely, never spoke a word, not even a hello in passing, nothing. Wouldn't even look at her, smile, nothing. Treated her as if she wasn't even in the room, like he never saw her. When she got pregnant with me, because he had flat out told her, don't marry my son, do not get pregnant, I will never speak to you again. And she got pregnant with me and she married his son, my father. Mom never understood why. She always was, hated my grandfather for that, because she just didn't understand why. It hurt her, made her angry. My mom's not a bad person, no more than I am. And people always did to her what they've done to me, make me look crazy, make me look bad, just stupid shit, run their faces behind, her back, and accuse her of things, horrible things, like having an affair with my uncle, one of my father's sister's husbands at the time, which they're divorced now. They divorced years ago. Um, when that wasn't true, and she was supposedly a Christian, you know. My family grew up in the Baptist church, as far as I knew, since the day I was born, and that's why I am so down too on Christians being the biggest judgmental liars, skeletons in the freaking closet, you know. But yeah, my grandfather never uttered a word to her, because she married my dad and she got pregnant with me, and he told her flat out, don't do it, but he wouldn't give her a reason why. And right up to the day, I remember the funeral when my grandfather passed away. I mean, my grandmother, she was a sweetheart. She still spoke to my mom. Her and my mom were very close, but not my grandfather. And I remember the funeral, because Grammy passed first. She had a severe big stroke that took her life. She helped raise me, when I was little. She'd rock me in the rocking chair. She was a sweetheart. And Grampy, never said a word to my mom. Just like he told her, I'll never speak to you again. And he didn't. He even went to his grave, never, ever uttering a kind or bad or nothing word to my mother, ever. Completely acted like she wasn't even visible, like she didn't exist, when she was right there. But he was good to me. He loved me. He was good to me, and he made it known. Um, but mom also, I learned stories as I got older, into my 20s and stuff. I think it was when she told me stories of, in conversations about, my father and her. There was a neighbor down the road from the farm that my family owned, and we lived off the farm back then. I don't remember ever going to the grocery store unless it was for salt and pepper, flour, and that was it. We made our own butter. We milked our cows for our milk. We lived off the land and our farm. That's the way I was raised at a very young age and born into. Um, but I guess there was a neighbor down the road from the farm, and dad would sneak off. And I guess he got caught peeping into this young teenage girl's bedroom at one of the neighbors' houses down the road. And her father, I guess, saw somebody outside his daughter's window and caught him and chased him. I guess my dad ran like hell. Um, he swears he wasn't doing anything wrong, but I don't know. I wasn't there, but I believe my mom. I do. It's funny how people love to shut up good people who speak out, speak their mind, say how they really feel, and are bluntly honest and make us look like liars and crazy or something. You know, always want to shut up the people that aren't afraid to cause confrontation and conversation, to say how they truly feel and to point out what somebody's doing when it is wrong, or to help somebody they love and care about. To me, those people are not people that really care. But yeah, my dad wasn't the greatest. He wasn't the father I wish I'd had. I remember being 14 on the farm, and every summer we'd give trail rides and riding lessons because my dad cheated on my mom constantly. She walked in the barn and caught him with um, one woman. I'm not going to say her name. In the barn on the pile of hay, having sex, and he slept with many people. Mom found out about or caught him, and I remember being 6 years old and hearing my mom crying in the bathroom with the door locked as my dad screaming at her on the outside of the door, Bailey, stop it. Open this door. You're being ridiculous. I do remember that. I don't care what anybody says. We can remember certain things that far back. It was too many bad memories more than good that I remember that far back. But yeah, the last straw for my mom, because I mean, there was when he got caught in the barn, but I'm going to step back just a little bit to mention that there was times where, because we were so poor when we lived off the farm. So in a way we were poor, but we weren't. We still had everything we needed, like food and stuff, living off the farm and the land and giving trail rides and riding lessons and stuff, and hay fields, selling hay and baling enough all summer long to be able to sell hay through the winter as well when you can't hay, to keep money coming in on top of everything else. I mean, we were hard workers. I come from a family of hard workers and you started at a young age. My dad had to drop out of school. My grandfather made him drop out of school before he even hit the end of elementary school. I think he wasn't even in junior high. He didn't even make it to high school. He was young when Grampy made him drop out back then in his day because he needed to be home to help run the farm, to keep the family fed and taken care of as well. And, that's just the way it was. So, no, my dad didn't have an education. He had to quit school to help my grandfather run the farm. He was the only boy out of 6 kids. My grandparents had 6 kids, 5 girls, and my dad was the 6th child, the only boy. And his sisters were always, I used to hear stories of his sisters tying him to the clothesline when Grammy and Grampy would be gone somewhere for the day or whatever, and come home, find my dad tied to the clothesline pole, because we hung our clothes up. We didn't, we washed them. We had the, scrub pad buckets, all that. Yeah, they picked on him bad being the only boy. But I learned a lot of bad things my father did too. So that could have had something to do with it. I don't know. But I know my aunts hate my father. They always have. They've never talked good about him. Malice was really the only one he was ever close to out of his sisters. The others always, from what I've heard, put him down constantly, because talking about how the horrible he was. And then I learned horrible things he did. And then going back to what I was saying about at 14 on the farm, we would hire, because by this point he was remarried to my stepmother, who had my baby half sister, who I know for a fact and overheard. Kids hear things that you think we don't hear, and me being the oldest, yeah, I'm old enough to know. Anyways, she only got pregnant to try to trap my father. She only married my father because she wanted the farm and the land. And when she thought, he was going to leave her. I mean, he was cheating on her. So she got pregnant. That worked for a little while, but he still continued to fuck around. And she was never good to my sister. She did not want her. She made that very clear. She tried a lot of things to try to keep him, and then, it ended up divorce anyway. So I'm making a long story short. She divorced him. Well, they got divorced, and she would only give him the divorce if he signed over the entire farm and everything to her only. Us kids were not my baby's half sister, not her child, who was also the same father as us. She got left in the will to get everything if something happens to her mother. But his three born before her, we got cut right out as if we weren't even part of the family or his kids, and that was ours before her. She stole it basically with blackmail. And there's a lot more I know that people don't know. I know for a fact. And my baby half sister has slipped up in many conversations and over the years and told me what her mom has confided into her when she became an adult and had kids of her own. But no, my dad wasn't the greatest. But, anyways, I keep going off to other things because there really was a lot of things. We'd hire young girls to come work on the farm in the summer to help with the stalls and cleaning the stalls, the horses, trail rides lessons, riding lessons and all that. And one of the girls I was very close to, I was 14, I think. She was a year older than me. This was just before I met my half sister, Karina, who showed up on the door. So maybe I was 13. I don't know. Like I've said before, those certain little things, dates, years, stuff kind of run together, but I know exactly in my head what I'm talking about. So I may not have the ages accurate, but I'm pretty freaking close because it was right around there. But she came to me one day. I was sitting on the tractor outside one of the barns because we had two great big huge barns. We owned over 20 something acres, I think it was, of land on that farm, and half of the mountain that ran through our land. So that's where the farm got the name. We named it after the mountain because it half of that mountain happened to be right on the land we owned. And I'm not going to say the name because I just don't feel I need to, and I don't really think it's anybody's business. So she come to me. I was sitting on the tractor, and she says to me that she had something to tell me, but she didn't know how to say it. And I remember just getting frustrated. Just say it, just say it. So she did. Apparently, the night before, my dad took her and another girl that worked on the farm, and that summer the other girl was from England. They were her and Rose, and I can't remember the other girl's name. I always forget her name. From Wales, England, had come as like a work thing, for the summer. And the girl that was my friend, she was a year older than me. She worked there for the summer too. Well, one of the girls from England and her, I guess my dad had taken out that night, I guess, somewhere. I'm not really sure why. I'm not really sure what, you know, but I guess alcohol was involved that he was feeding them. I mean, he fed me my first liquor drinks, alcohol at 12 years old. That's when I started drinking. He always said, well, I'd rather, I know what you're doing than you go sneaking around getting alcohol and drinking. This way I know you're safe. So, yeah, that was his excuse. But I guess he made a pass at her. I guess he tried to have sex with her. Of course, I got angry. I didn't believe it, or I didn't know what to believe. I remember just all this, just like suddenly this rage came over me. I was so young. And for my friend to come to me and say that, and I didn't see my father's bad side of what I was told later in life. And as I got older to understand more, I didn't I guess I didn't want to see him that way, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I was just, I don't know. But I got angry that she said that about my father. I didn't know what to think, but I think there was a part of me deep down inside that did believe her. I really don't even know how to describe it because there was too many different emotions. And I got off the tractor. I ran in the house. I ran in the bathroom that was off the kitchen. I shut the door and locked it. She was trying to get me to, she had followed, behind me, running after me, trying to get me to stop and listen. And I wouldn't. I just kept running. I was so young. And I remember hearing my dad banging on the door. Alicia, open this door. Why is the door locked? What's going on? And I could hear him yelling at her, what's going on? And she told him that she told me, what? You're lying. I could hear him calling her a liar. Why would you tell my daughter that? That's not true. What's the matter with you? Why would you do that? Yeah, I could hear what was being said on the other side of the door. The walls and doors were thin. They weren't very well insulated. It was an old farmhouse. They weren't insulated like they are now. And then I remember him finally getting me to open the door, and I was screaming at him about what she said. She's lying. You know me. I'm your father. I would never do this. Blah, blah, blah. I was so confused, hurt, angry, too many emotions for a young preteen to deal with. And a part of me always felt uncomfortable around my own father. And I never understood why. I even remember as being, and I'm guessing I was probably around 6 because I remember, even in my head being a young girl, probably around that age, 6. And I was just uncomfortable then around him and never understood why. I don't remember anything happening, honestly, but I always had that uncomfortable feeling and I never understood why. And I guess her telling me that really just messed me up even more. And I have seen psychiatrists and I have talked to counselors about not understanding why I always felt so, even at that small young age, and the way I dress, I always just felt awkward, and in a way you shouldn't around your father. And I was always jealous of the fact that my friends that I did have, which I always kept my circle small, I didn't have that father daughter relationship that I wish I had. So, it's like a part of me wanted to hate him, but part of me didn't really understand because I don't remember anything, but I'm having these feelings I really didn't know. And I remember this counselor telling me, and so did the psychiatrist, and this was years ago when I talked about it to them, suggesting that our brain, sometimes when really traumatic things happen, like our brain will protect us at a very small age by blocking it out because the trauma was so severe that that's our mind's way of protecting us. That's why we may not remember anything happening, but there's always that eerie feeling that we don't understand why. So I really don't know because I don't remember. And hypnosis, she said, could help, but do you want to bring back what might have happened? Are you prepared to find out why you feel that way? And the more I thought about it, the more I felt I don't know if I'm ready for that. And I'm not saying it could be this or that because I really don't remember, but why else would I have those eerie feelings unless it was something? But sometimes there's a reason our brain blocks these things out when we are small child to protect us from a severe trauma that could have really destroyed me even more than ever, mentally. Um, yeah, so he wasn't the greatest father. I remember him when I was in junior high and high school, and he was always asking me, how's that friend of yours? Why don't you bring your friends over to spend the night? And then finding out from my friends that he was hitting on them. So she wasn't the only, and she wasn't the first. There's a lot of things he did, bad things, bad mistakes. He always, when people would meet him, they, would love him, and he just had a way with words, with talking. He was very smooth, but they'd always see his true colors. He had so many affairs with so many hay customers' wives while he was delivering hay to their house and making me lie for him as I got into my preteens and older while he was having these affairs, and I really didn't want to. And that's a big part of why I also hate lying, because of what my father made me feel. I could not say no, that I was scared of my own father to go against him when I knew he was doing wrong. I could never understand why he had that kind of control over me, and I hated it. I didn't like it. He was the only one that I really couldn't speak up to. And they say that when you get married to an abusive husband, it things kind of repeat. You're like marrying your father, and you've got to break that chain. So that's, yeah, I think that's why I ended up in such abusive relationship with my two husbands. And the past, and the second one, he was, oh, I'm surprised I made out of that alive. And he worked in law enforcement. He was a correctional officer in Texas. And I remember going to the district attorney, everything for years. I lived in fear. He was so abusive physically and mentally and everything, and an alcoholic on top of it all. But nobody would listen to me. They always had law enforcement, they got each other's back. And that's a big reason why I don't trust law enforcement of any kind or uniform of any kind. I don't care who it is, because of what my ex second husband put me through, and he did work for one of the prisons out there. But now my father's anniversary is coming up, and yeah, it was hard losing my father. Yes, and I know what I just told you. Some people may think, why? I don't know why, honestly. Part of me wants to still hope that he's made amends on the other side. Part of me wishes that I had had that father that I should have had. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what to say to that. I should hate him. I should. And part of me is very angry and hates him for who he was and what he did. But then he was my father, my only father. I wouldn't be here right now, otherwise. I wouldn't have had the family I had. I wouldn't have had the siblings I had. It would have been, everything would have been different, is what I guess I'm saying. So it's complicated, it's confusing, and I really don't understand it myself, and I really don't know how to say it. But he was still my father regardless. And I'm not making, I'd never, I'm not making excuses for that. But I'm feeling very emotional the past few days because of this. Everything coming up and everything else, my birthday. I mean, I never thought I would live to see the age of 30 because of the life I was living in and the things that were happening. So when I see, like earlier I was watching, and God rest his soul, Matt, who passed away recently, his body found in the river from the um, Alaskan Bush People show, which I used to watch. I loved that show, and he was one of my favorites on there. Um, but I don't know. I saw something, that a clip from one of them reality TV broadcast things where they kind of catch you up on, where is this people now? Where is he now? Where is this, since the show? And just something, I don't know. I don't think he killed himself, honestly. Something tells me something's not right. And what Rain's going through, the youngest right now, watching the next episode after they talked about what happened to him and his addiction and stuff. I don't know. I don't think she's lying, honestly, because I've been where she is. Same things happen to me. I swear to God. So I don't believe he committed suicide. I think there was foul play. I don't believe she's done anything that she was accused of with the drugs and the stealing. I don't believe any of it. Something isn't adding up. And why does certain brother keep coming forward? Always the one to announce everything and on social media when, to confirm that yes, his brother passed, and the brain situation is that one that keeps coming forward, and then the other one, what she's saying about one of the brothers, I don't know. but I believe her over what they're saying against her. I've been in her shoes. I've been her. That same freaking shit years ago happened to me. And I was innocent. I know everybody or a lot of people say that, and they're not always being honest, but there are some of us that are. And I believe that just like me, she is innocent, that something else is going on that is being brushed under the rug and covered up like they tried to do with me. You know, they're always trying to shut up the good, honest, innocent people who aren't afraid to speak out and defend themselves. And for years, in my younger years, I was beat down by people like that. And you know what? I woke the fuck up. I no longer will be kept or held silent ever again. If I have something to say and it's true, I'm going to say it. I don't care what anybody else has to say to try to make me look bad. I know the truth. The big guy, if he's up there, knows the truth. And there's nothing anybody can say or do to change the truth. So, yes, that too is making me angry. I just don't buy it. I don't believe that he was weak enough to kill himself, Matt. I don't believe that. I don't. I think it was staged to look that way. I think there's more going on. Now, I'm saying what I think and what I feel and what I believe. I'm not saying I have any evidence to back this up. I'm only saying how I feel and what I think. So do not turn that into me trying to accuse anybody of something, because I'm not. I'm saying how I feel and think about the situations for those two, because I went through the same thing. And yeah, people tried to shut me up, but didn't work. And eventually the truth came to surface. So I guess what I want you to also know is that I may not know for sure. It's just a feeling and how I'm thinking what's going on. But just like me, who was being honest, those ones that tried to foul play me, the truth will come out and she will be okay. Him, he's already gone. But I have a feeling the truth on that is going to come out soon. So I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know where, but the truth always comes back. It always does. I don't know. It's just something about the story just doesn't add up, doesn't feel right. Something is off. And I guess the reason it bothers me so much too, and is because I was her, I was him. People have tried. You know, I honestly thought I was not going to live past 30, like I said. Plus, I really didn't want to leave my 20s. So, that, I've hated getting older ever since, too, on that. But I really thought that I was not going to make it through and it weren't going to be by my hand. I actually had an out of body experience, my first one. I was after I had my son. I think he was 5 years old. I was in my 20s still. And I was at this old Victorian house. It was severely haunted. It was built back in the 1800s. It used to be a brothel. It had like 3 floors. It was a huge, big house. Very, very old, still original everything. Um, and I've told you about this house before. It had the great big, there was no baseboard heat, no, vents, no, none of that. Every room in that house, and there was so many rooms, I couldn't count them on my fingers. Um, had the great big walk-in type fireplaces that were bigger than you. You could stand inside it. Because back then, that's how they heated the house, with wood in them great big fire. And they were big because the rooms needed it, that type of heat. But that's where I had my first out of body experience. Awake. I remember something weird came over me. I was in one of the rooms on the third floor because that seemed to have the most activity spiritually. And I started feeling weird. I'm standing in the room before I could even leave, because I think I was getting ready to walk out the door. I looked down at my hand and I literally was like seeing two of me. Like I could see, like I was coming out of my body, like an out of body experience. I don't, and those of you who knows that whiz will understand what I'm saying. But I don't know. It was like after I don't know what really happened after that, because I saw like two of me, like the out of body experience. As I'm looking down at my hands and my arms and stuff, I could see like one of me is see through and the other is me solid. Um, and then I would just remember I was back in the old west or something. It had to have been, because there was no cars yet. It was like the westerns you see in the old movies with the horse and buggies, and the old wooden buggy types, and nothing fancy, dirt roads, the saloons, the whole back then time. Excuse me. And I remember wearing one of the old dresses that women used to wear back then, that them style dresses, and I had, the fancy hat. And I remember I was crossing the road, because everything was dirt. They didn't have pavement or anything yet. They didn't even have cars. Um, that wasn't even invented. It was just horses. And I remember crossing the street from one of the saloons to walk to the other side, and somebody yelled my name. And as I turned around, they called me a witch. And out of nowhere, I was run over by two horses pulling the old style wooden buggies like you see in the old West movies. But this was real. Like I was there. At I know it sounds crazy, but it happened, and I was awake when it happened. This wasn't a dream. And I believe that was one of my past lives for a long time. And I really still do believe that I must have been seeing either one of my past lives of what happened to me. And I wasn't quite 30 either. It's like I knew I was younger than that when that happened. So I knew I was killed at a young age. And, all the things happening in my life, right up. So then and on, waking up with a double barrel shotgun at my forehead right here. The guy that I was dating was gonna shoot me, and I had to say everything I could to get out of it, just long enough for him to move that gun enough for me to jump out 6 months pregnant out of that bed and run out that damn camper door. And I never went back. My ex-husband always handcuffing me, raping me, beating me, putting guns to me. I mean, I have been through so much more than that, too. I mean, it would take me forever. another lifetime to discuss everything that I've been through. It's crazy, I know, but it's true and it happened. So I guess that's another reason why I thought I would never live past 30, because I did die in my past lives so young, but I'm learning now that, because that never happened, I'm still here. So I think in this life, those lives were different. People were trying to shut me up because I was so open and a good person and honest then too, but nobody wanted like that. People don't like that. But now we're in a time where, yes, men are still trying to repress women to stay quiet, barefoot, pregnant, the kitchen, whatever you want to call it, but trying to make us feel like we're liberated now, freedom of speech for women too. But really, nothing's changed. It's all a mirage to make women feel like they are now treated equal and not like back in the day where women were seen and not heard, you know? But really, it's not changed. It's all an illusion. But there's something in that age that it's time for us to speak up. So, any other women out there like me, or even men, I don't care what sexuality you are, because it happens to them too, a lot of them, speak up. Stop biting your tongue, because that's the way you were raised. I don't care what age you are. Stop biting your tongue because you don't want to upset anybody or get involved or, whatever. Stop being afraid. Stop letting that control us. Our whole lives have been a lie, because this is what, they want us to think we're free. They want us to think we have the right to freedom of speech and all that, and the Constitution. But yet, it's all a mirage. They're covering it up. It's still, nothing's changed. They're just fucking with our heads now, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I'm no longer going to allow that. So, I guess also what I'm trying to say is all these different things I've told about how I'm surprised I'm still here, made it through, rather be what I went through with depression, addiction, whatever it may have been in my past, and what men put me through in relationships and women, because I am bisexual and I have had past relationships with women. I'm still here. So something's changed. And this time is supposed to be different for a reason. And you know how I brought up in one of my videos that when our time goes, I believe that we are, put through a series of questions and tests by the gatekeepers, or, whatever different people call them, to determine if we've learned what we have been sent here on this earth, born into as a baby, to live over and over again. If we've learned what we were supposed to learn, if we've accomplished what we were supposed to accomplish in this life while we were here on this earth since the day we were born. I think it's different for all of us, yes, but if we fail those questions and get them wrong and fail that test with but the questions we are asked, then yes, I believe that our memories are wiped enough that we won't remember. Because think about it. Why would they send you back because I believe in reincarnation. I believe we've had many past lives. I do. It makes sense. I mean, think about it. Why would they not take away the memories from the life we just left on that earth when our time comes to pass on? Because, and then send us back to relive another life because we did not learn or anything from or enough or accomplish whatever it may be what we were supposed to have in each life we've been. We're continuously sent back. Why would they not make it so you can't remember? That's almost like cheating on a test. You're not supposed to remember. That's the whole point. You're not supposed to know. That's the whole point of the test. That's how you learn. You're not learning nothing if you have the answers to what you've already done, so you can try to not repeat that. That's not the how it's supposed to be done. It's got to be sincere. It's got to be real. It's yeah. So that's why I believe yes, they do that. And until we've learned those life lessons and we've, from whatever happened in our past since the first, birth, all the past lives, until we've, passed that test and accomplished and learned what we're supposed to be here to learn and do what we are supposed to do, which is the right thing, then we're never gonna go to wherever the next step would be because they're just gonna keep, that's why so many people, they say, have so many past lives, been reborn again and again, some of us more than 12. It depends on the person. Some people never change, and that's sad, because if they keep being a bad person and never learn, and being a bad person doesn't always mean, being like abusive in a physical way or a murderer or whatever. It doesn't always mean that. It can also mean somebody who intentionally is narcissistic and, vindictive in other ways too, and tells lies and never takes accountability, takes it to their grave. That's also bad too. We're not supposed to be doing that. We're in, the end is coming, but it's not way people are thinking either. So I don't know. That's just getting me into way too deep right now. So I mean, think about it. Really think about it. I feel like a big part of me is finally waking up, opening up, and realizing that, because I never saw things that way. And I continually, was making mistakes for years. And I always kept saying, why does God keep taking a shit and flushing his toilet on my head again? Wow, what did I do to deserve this? Because I've always tried to be helpful and a good person, because I am. And people have always tried to make me look the opposite, like they're jealous, like they can't stand it. And, and that's another word too. People don't understand always that there's more than one type of jealousy. Jealousy isn't just a jealous girlfriend over another female, or a male jealous over another, whatever it may be. No, there's more to jealousy. Yes, that's one type of a jealous person. But there's many different types of jealousy and jealous people. It doesn't always have to be that. It can be somebody, meaning that, they feel that they never got the opportunity to have this or that, or they always wanted to look like that, or, you know, whatever it may be, and somebody they're close to has it, and that bugs them. So they try to, so they, one way behind the back and another way to the face, two-face. That's another jealousy. I mean, there's many types of meanings to jealousy. It's not always that one definition that a lot of people have always thought. I'd have so much to say from my own experience personally. And believe me, statistics aren't always accurate. I don't care what anybody says, because there's always that one day that one or two people are going to come into, this life and prove it wrong. Because I've been that one and I've been there. Maybe not all things, but I have experienced that, me personally. So that just goes to show that, and statistics are based on things that have actually been brought to light, recorded. Not everybody speaks up, not everything is recorded. So that goes to show that statistics is only based on what they know. So there's always going to be that one person or two or whatever that eventually going to come to light and prove that that ain't so, you know. And there is more truth to movies, even the the ones that aren't true stories or based on true events as well. Where do you think they get the ideas from? You know, and they blow it up to make it look more exciting. But where do you think they got the idea? So yes, these things are possible too. Anything is possible. I mean, I just got a lot to say. And like I said in the beginning of this video, I have a lot of emotions going on right now because, another year of my dad's passing, Father's Day's coming up. Why would I care knowing, what I just told you about him? I don't know. But there's still a part of me that he was still my father. And I never got to have that father-daughter relationship that I should have had. A good, like my friends. So that's always bugged me. I never got the fairy tale wedding. I never got that father I should have had. I never got the marriage of the husband I should have had. No, I got abused and used, chewed up, spit out, silenced, broke down, you name it. And now I am risen like the phoenix ashes. I have risen and I am reborn myself. And I will no longer be silenced. So I'm tougher than people give me credit. Do not mistake any of my kindness for weakness. And I know a lot of people think over the years, and it's even been brought to light and said to me, even in these recent years, that yeah, I do look like an easy pushover, naive, easy to manipulate person. But that's why I say do not underestimate me, and never underestimate anybody. Does that make me a bad person? No. Because no, I'm not saying that in a bad way. Okay. So, all right, I'm starting to get tired again. I can feel it. So it's the stress too. It's really made me age a lot. I've noticed that looking at older pictures and pictures from like a year ago, how much of a change in my face and stuff. It's just stress does some crazy things. You know, a lot of things that we don't always realize too. Stress is one of the biggest killers in this world. So, yeah. All right. I'm going to go for now, get some sleep. I'll be making more videos, and I will see y'all soon.